And Big Bird Club would like to continue their run of good luck. Coming off a win yesterday, TTQ, they will be looking to right the scales as we are hopping straight into draft. It is so lovely to have all of you with us tonight. I'm excited. I'm excited to see if we can see a little bit more from TTQ than we got to see in their last series. A little bit of a heartbreak there for them, especially in that second game. It definitely looked like they were going to be able to turn it around, but then just ended up getting outfought by BP. So much respect to them. Big Bird Club, though, wasting no time grabbing a 2-0 lead yesterday. And right back into the grinder for them. They want to go ahead and try and secure a second win for the season. We'll have to see if TTQ can potentially put a dampener on that plan and stop them in their tracks, as they are going to be locking in the Mundo. The jungler for Big Bird Club had a fantastic game on Mundo. Had two fantastic games, really. Fantastic Mundo and a Jarvan game. Went deathless in that Jarvan game, and was definitely a huge contributor for both of those victories in that what amounted to be a somewhat short series. Big Bird Club, they want to go ahead and grab themselves a Seraphine. Potentially might grab the Ashe here as well to pair alongside of that. Of course, there are a number of other ADCs that could go well with that. You could choose to go double AP if you'd like to, and maybe perhaps grab a Ziggs. But likely going to be something like the Ashe or the, not the Aurora. I always think the Aurora, but it's not. It's the Yanara, the champion that shares such a similar name. I'm trying to think of some other standouts. The Sivir was the other one that we didn't mention. But also a great scaling bot side pick. A little bit slower in the game, but still pretty good laning trade potential. Yeah, especially when paired alongside a Seraphine. Their sustain is really good too, as long as they're watching their mana, which I fully expect them to do. Big Bird Club is kind of known for having really good lane states, and that was really on display in both of their games yesterday. And so kind of fully expect them to continue with that momentum. I'm interested to see what they do with it too, is, speaking of momentum, because one of those things that can kind of happen is if you're coming off a really nice win, you can kind of snowball that into a little bit more energy and, some good feelings all around for when you go into a second series. And TTQ, the flip side of that coin is you can have some time to kind of sit with the loss, figure out what you did wrong, go back to the drawing board a little bit, and then look to see where you can correct some things. Aurelion Sol going to be the pickup for them in the mid lane. That was a champion that was denied pretty heavily from them in their series versus BP. That was a consistent man. And Jarvan going to be the pickup there for the side of EBC. And they're, Say the Fish is no stranger to that champion whatsoever. And was their player of the series. had a really good time. I think it was warranted too, him getting player of the series. You look at those back-to-back games in that one series, and it's amazing the amount of work he got done, how mobile he was across the map. I didn't get to see the first game because I was having dinner with my parents, but was able to come back and catch the second game and then watch the VOD of the first one. And, his mobility around the map with this champion is really incredible. It's not only just utilizing the base mobility of that champion, but then how he's utilizing it, finding the right timings, the right gank setups, being patient when there isn't something, not over-forcing. I think that's the hallmark of a great jungler is, timing and working off of information, and Save the Fish has really demonstrated that. And so TTQ, they'll have their work cut out for them a little bit in that regard, just making sure that they're not giving too many crazy openings for him, because Save the Fish definitely likes to look for them, especially towards that bot side if he can find an easy opening where there's blown summoners. You want to talk about utilizing some mobility? LeBlanc, another great champion to do that. Oh, I also love that updated splash art. I think she looks fantastic now. She looked okay before, but now she looks great. But another champion that can pair alongside that Jarvan really, really easily. Easy combination as well, makes sense. Flag drag to get a momentary stun up. Plus, putting someone in the, I would say, we'd call it the baby cage, not the baby cage, it's the rock wall. Putting in the rock cage is LeBlanc can just dive in and out and burst people. But Janna going to be the pickup there for TTQ to potentially deny some of that engage. I like that Monsoon. A great ability for making sure that Flag and Drag doesn't have an easy setup and actually even knocking LeBlanc out of that initial burst that she wants to get. You can't even actually get close to the character model if the Janna is pressing that ability fast enough. It will actually just knock LeBlanc away before she can land the chains, land the empowered Q. And so I like that. I like that draft adaptation for TTQ, making sure that they're trying to deny some of the easy setups on the side of Big Bird Club. And they're even accentuating that further by grabbing the Shin, so making sure that they have additional protection across the map. I like this draft so far for them, actually. Plenty of scaling, great team fighting, easy gank setups. Interested to see whether or not it'll be the Shin or the Mundo in that jungle, because they do have a little bit of flexibility in terms of how they want to move those champions around. Is the Cho'Gath going to be the top side to pick up there for the side of the Big Bird Club? We can continue to theorize about potential name origins later. For now, we are on to the Rift. It's week number 2, guys, already. Week number 2. It just feels like the other day that we were starting up the league. You know, last Monday was when it started, but here we are. First game. This will be one of 2 games that we're going to have this week from this division, just because there are some scheduling conflicts, so there won't be many of other games happening from the Hardwire Division. But the great news for all of you, for those of you that were catching our pregame, is that our Surge Division is going to be active, or not rather our Surge Division, sorry, our Overclock Division is going to be active very soon. So we have 3 fantastic matchups for you guys today in that division. Or not today, rather, but we will have this week 6 of those matchups. 6 matchups, 6 teams, 2 or 6, 3 matchups for you guys. So it'll be very exciting. And the leagues, we're popping off, man. We've gotten fully underway, and that feels really, really nice. Nice to be in a position where we've got multiple leagues going, lots of games to choose from, and in fact, you know, a little bit behind the scenes, but you know, we were looking at all these matches like, man, we got to find a way to make sure we get more of these out, because you know, it would kind of suck if we couldn't really stream, you know, at least the majority of these games. So we're going to be opening up a second stream. So please keep your eyes open for that later this week as we get that going. There'll be a second GG loading screen channel that will be active soon enough so that we can get you all of those great games, all the content you want to see. But for now, we're going to focus on the game that we've got in front of us right now. Is BBC already getting their laning prowess going, getting some of the early pressure on the bot side. This is fully what you expect to see. It's Sivir, it's Seraphine. Their poke is just obnoxious. It's kind of the trade that you give when you go Ashe and then a regular Enchanter. You know, if this were Ashe Seraphine, that combo would be a little bit different just because of how obnoxious that duo is compared to a lot of other duos that you see in the bot side. So I kind of like BBC grabbing the Sivir with it as well. I mean, I think it's a decent 3rd or 4th pick to go with. I mean, obviously that duo with Ashe Seraphine is kind of just like the prio, but Sunny Waffle going to be very happy to have the Sivir though. And this is an easy champion to pilot both like in the lane individually and then in team fights. And so ease of execution later in the game is I think pretty big. You know, the easier time you have doing things and the less you have to focus using specific ability interactions, the better it is. Speaking of interactions though, this is going to be an interaction between both jungle and top side for BBC and TTQ. First blood though, going over to fully Noited. Save the Fishes will trade back on him, though, so it is a 1-for-1 on that top side. Meanwhile, though, bot side Chicken Thuggy getting dangerously low. Flash out from Root to try and get a little bit more damage, but that main spell is Doom. Pops the barrier. Meanwhile, Save the Fishes gets a kill on the top side. It's Ricky gets another one. Barrier, or sorry, a little bit of healing for Sunny Waffle. Sox Clinton trying to get out. Chicken Thuggy wants to chase him down. A lot of damage for both of these guys. A little bit of a tornado coming out to buy him some space. But TTQ, they get first blood, but they lose across the map and going down 2 kills. In the interim, huge trade for BBC. It's always hard in moments like that, especially when there's a lot of action across the Rift. You're trying to keep up with all the individual champions and all the abilities being used, and oh my god, the auto cameras, you know, going back and forth between 2 lanes that are complete opposite sides of the map. But BBC going to be, I think, hard pressed to feel hard done by in that trade. Yeah, you give up first blood, but your Jarvan's got 2 kills, which you know, for Save the Fishes is fantastic. Picking up right where he left off from his last series. That Jarvan performance was fantastic, and he's going to look to repeat that now. And for Inbred, it's all about just taking your time on this top side. All about just slowly scaling up. You know, Cho'Gath, he'll always have some level of threat throughout the game. He eats a turret shot for his trouble. That's not so good. He'll always remain a consistent threat, but it's really in that late game where he starts to shine, especially when he could just devour not only like a champion from half health, but then also, you know, it's having an additional smite, which is one of the bonuses that you get from playing Cho'Gath. You can kind of start to group up with your jungler, and you can choose to smite chomp versus, or sorry, smite devour versus devour smite in any order you want to. And when it's safe, you can just give it over to Cho'Gath, and he gets that epic stack, which is always really nice. And, it also makes it really, really difficult too for fully Noited to have that coverage in terms of Smiting, if both the Cho'Gath and the Jarvan are alive, it just makes it really, really difficult to try and steal something away or even secure an objective if it's an even fight towards a neutral area. So something I want to point out is that we saw in TTQ's last series was the hyper aggression from Route 16 in terms of how he plays his champions. His Lucian game was, I think, a fantastic performance, even though it really didn't go their way towards the end of the game. With the Baggy Pampers kind of out-trading them very heavily in those team fights. But there were moments of brilliance from Route 16 where you could definitely see that, has the skill, has the ability to pilot those champions. And so I just want to see a little bit more of that. I want to see them maybe take some of those individual leads that he's able to build up and then potentially snowball those into something bigger and, potentially a series win. Because it always it kind of hurts a little bit, even as a viewer, when you see someone that, they're playing that hard, they're giving it their all, and they have a really good performance like that, and then they don't get rewarded. You feel for someone in that situation and go, oh man, just a little bit more of something, and you would have had it. So the BBC off to a really good start. Small gold lead, nothing crazy. The lane states are fairly even with TTQ getting a lot of heavy push in his bot side after that fight. The CS is virtually dead even. The biggest difference, though, in that top side between Inbred Loser and It's Ricky, he just has so much control. As Cho'Gath, that's a very good matchup. I would say that overall, Shen versus Cho'Gath is fairly even just because they both have individual combinations that they can do that can get them quite a bit of heavy burst and give them sustain in the lane. But I think Inbred just a lot more comfortable in this matchup, but then also more comfortable in the role. And he was a big part of their success too in that series. The second game in that series, he was fairly quiet, but the first game on Renekton, he had a really good performance. Interested to see if we'll also get that Renekton in a game number 2, or potentially 3 if we get to go the full best of 3 series. And we've only had one full best of 3 series so far this season. That was Bush Wookiees versus Glacier Ascent. That was our first game of the season, and it went the full distance, and we haven't had another one since. Save the fishes. He's going to, use the ultimate to avoid Taylor Swifties. Is going to be locked in his own ultimate for now. Sunny Waffle's flashing to get on the opposite side. He was mispositioned and tried to hold on to what's left of his health bar. Sifl here now to buy a little bit of space. Taylor Swifties, they might be looking at a potential disengage. Chicken Thuggy, potentially getting this slow, but not enough to secure a kill yet. Taylor Swifties forced to flash away from Sifl. Yeah, both these teams, they've taken a swing at each other. Decide that they are going to just let it go. Is fully anointed. He's going to smite away the Scuttle Crab just to take that as a consolation prize, but nobody going down in that team fight. I think neither team really wanting to gamble in that moment just because, the call's like, it's too early. It's too early to throw everything in the kitchen sink in a fight when it's only, 7 minutes and 30 seconds into the game. You don't want to be betting the farm on something that could potentially lose you the game. And the nice part of that, too, is Inbred Loser on that top side had plenty of time with that top tower, and so was able to click that plate gold. It'll be sitting pretty. The giant void monster wearing a pair of pajamas. I wonder what it would be like to see that just run up on you, Oh, he's not wearing pajamas. I'm sorry. That's the toy skin. That is the Cho'Gath toy skin. I don't know why I thought that was the pajama one. He doesn't have a pajama skin. But they look like pajamas. Chat, leave me alone. They look like pajamas. All right. BBC, right off the hot press, they're going to be just running straight up to grab those grubs. Grab those grubs? Try saying that 10 times fast. Wasting no time. Just pushing his tempo. Save the Fish is doing a really good job. In utilizing the strengths of his Jarvan, is Sunny Waffles is going to get tagged up by the Enchanted Crystal Arrow. Sox is going to knock him up with a Tornado, but should have enough to get out of this. Is going to pop the On the Hunt for a little bit of movement speed. Route 16 wants to follow this underneath the turret and does. The final auto into the back secures the kill. Sunny Waffle drops the 1v2 in the bot side. And a decent investment for Route 16 and Sox, but they didn't have to use any summoners or anything like that to catch up to him. Instead, it was just an investment of that Enchanted Crystal Arrow. And so Route 16 trying to get something back for himself, manages to do so. He will get a little bit of alone time, at least collect the one turret plate. I like that BBC is not in a rush right now with this game state. I like that they're slowly, incrementally building advantages, both just through lane and then through passively grabbing these neutral objectives. And that's one of those unspoken things that I think is the hallmark of a great champion, is knowing when and where you're strong and where you shouldn't make trades. Fully Anointed might be able to run Sifil down here. He's going to pop the clone, but he knows which one it is, and Ev is going to get the jump out from him. But that LeBlanc fairly mobile, so never under too much danger unless there's a couple more people to help lock that LeBlanc down, but still losing the health bar is not going to feel that great, so we'll just complete the recall and scurry on back out to the Rift. With BBC's patience, I think just not only so far in this season, even though we're only now just getting to their second series of the season, but I think just previously when we saw them playing the Bonanza tournament, they had these, kind of funny pop-off moments where some goofy things would happen, but one of the things that I just remember from that Bonanza tournament was at times their patience and, how seriously they took the game and recognizing their strengths and their weaknesses in terms of their pacing on the map. And we're seeing that right now. They are not overextending for a lot of stuff right now. They're letting TTQ kind of just simmer a little bit because they know where they're going to be strong. They know that they've got this scaling threat on the top side. Chicken Thuggy, this is the wrong side for you, sir. Is going to throw out the encore, but won't get anything out of it. Blow the flash as well just to survive. Will go down at the end, but it's traded in the mid side. Tiny Waffle also going to drop Route 16, picks that one up. As Fully Anointed picked up the kill on to the Sivir. And a 1-for-2 trade overall across the map. TTQ staying scrappy. And trying to find their own tempo in this game. Trying to find their own angle to make plays. No disrespect to TTQ on that one, though, but I think mostly that was just prompted by Chicken Thuggy just kind of being on the wrong side of that play. It was a little too far up with no vision, and so I think there's never an instance where you want to walk up like that, especially if you don't know where the Mundo's at. You can kind of deduce that his pathing, at least around this time in the game, should be putting him somewhere around there. But even as I say that, also recognizing that armchair quarterbacking, even as a caster, is one thing. Sometimes you just make assumptions in the game thinking you've got a read, and sometimes you don't have that read. So the big kicker will be whether or not Chicken Thuggy waits all game to learn the lesson from there. Oh no. This is sins of the son, sins of the father, sins of the son. Sonny Waffle is repeating what Chicken Thuggy just did and is not going to try and walk away from this. There's really nowhere to go. This is just inevitable. Sonny Waffle's trying to run, but really nowhere to go. Flash forward. Don't commit the flash there. That's the wrong play. There's never an instance where you're going to live that, and there's never a reason to commit a summoner spell there when you know for sure that you're going to die. Hawkshot going to reveal 3 members of BBC on this dragon. Route 16, though, does have the ultimate. Can look to try and commit this onto the lock if they want to. Save the Fish is going to secure the Ocean Drake, but can they get out? Ultimate committed on top of the ult. So the supporting the ADC. They will at least knock down the Janna. What else can they get? The Chicken Thuggy now left on her lonesome. Nowhere to go. The Cannon Crystal Arrow comes out to secure it. It's 1-for-1s back and forth. Taylor Swifty's here to block up the LeBlanc. As it's going to be 3 dead for the side of BBC. Traded for 2 in TTQ, but they get the dragon. This is starting to become a messy game. Starting to become really, really bloody from both of these teams. I think a little bit of carelessness, too, from some of the players here from the side of BBC. I think just making some poor snap decisions. And Sonny Waffles, again, on the wrong side of that play. Doing exactly what the Seraphine had just done. And you get punished for it. You can't make plays like that and not expect someone to eventually try and capitalize on it. So the biggest winner so far, though, has to be Inbred Loser on his top side. He's just chilling. He's having a great time. He's like, I'm a Cho'Gath. I'm just slowly farming up. I'm getting my stacks. I'm not under any danger. No one's ganking me. I've got all these turret plates. And that's great for BBC, especially towards the late game, because the longer that Cho'Gath is left to his own devices, the more of a problem he will slowly start to become. And now It's Ricky is just slowly getting pushed out of this lane. The CS differential pretty large. A little bit more than 30 in that top side. And that's a lot, that's a level's worth. It's like half an item's worth of gold difference. And for Inbred Loser, it's just going to be that Warmog's Rush, I think, given that we see the Bracers plus the double Giants belt. And it makes sense, too. His damage itemization, or sorry, rather his tank itemization is going to be fairly easy. Taylor Swifties is really not going to be in a position right now to do a tremendous amount of damage to the Cho'Gath unless it's just, for some ungodly reason, a stupid long team fight. But maybe a skirmish, a little bit of a skirmish here this top side. It's Ricky blowing the flash. Fully Anointed is here to help him. They throw out the smite just to see if that'll do. little bit of anything. They should be able to knock him down. He's going to get taunted up. Won't be able to get the Devour out right now. Just no one within range. At least health-wise, Flash 4 wants to try and end an auto, and that turns me into a liar. It did have it. Throws the thumbs up, almost like he was listening. It'll land the knockup. Surely fully noted is able to knock him down here. Pops the ultimate for the passive healing, and does manage to do so with a final auto attack. But it took a long time for both of them, even with fully noited. No, not fully noited, sorry. Inbred Loser being at half health basically that whole time. For them to finally knock him down, and even then he still walked away with a kill in a 1v2, so if that's a sign of the times, BBC, you're really happy with that? You're telling your top laner, don't even sweat it, dude. Yeah. Cowabunga time it is here in about 10 minutes when you're even scarier. And also, picking up 2 turrets. And BBC, a nice little gold lead for themselves. About 1.6 gold. It's nothing you would, email your mom home about with a picture of saying, hey mom, look what I got. It's something maybe you'd mention in an offhand comment like, yeah, well, by like 15 minutes we had like a 1.6 gold lead over TTQ. I don't know if you know. Save the Fishes, though, would be wishing that he had a little bit more of that gold in that lead. Does manage to flag and drag over the wall. Oh, fully noted flash to try and run him down. Sifl trying to see if he can get here to buy a little time. But he, in fact, cannot. And now it's going to be the ultimate committed to the Grand Starfall. Sorry, not the Grand Starfall. The ultimate, rather. I will renew that name as I just completely forgot what that is. This is caster being exposed in real time. But regardless, the Ace will going to commit the ultimate there. And lock it down. And the unfortunate part of that, too, is that Sifl got locked up in that mess. Oh, the encore going to hit. It's going to be the immediate barrier from Route 16, but it's just going to walk out. So it's, hey, let's chill, let's chill. No need to do anything hasty, friends. Just chilling on the bot side, right? We're all bros. We don't need to do anything crazy. He's trying to put that out there. Now that early game lead that BBC had built up, so starting to slowly get wheedled away at. It's fully anointed. He's going to try and walk on out of here after popping the Rift Herald. They won't get the turret knocked down, but they will be able to pick up some of that gold as Chicken Thuggy disrupts Root's back. A little bit of a rooter-dooter there. Honestly, actually a really good job to disrupt that. Now that I'm looking at the dragon timing, less than 30 seconds available, which means that Route 16 is not going to have a chance to go back and buy. Ooh, I don't know about this recall. A little bit late for the dragon to be spawning to take a recall, but we'll just go ahead and complete it anyways. Nope, cancels it. Yeah, I was about to say, this is the wrong time to be trying to take it back. Yeah, you want to be around to potentially fight for this dragon. Save the Fish. Just use the smite there on the Gromp, but should have another round of it, and in fact will to throw down on the dragons is coming up right about this time. I've seen some junglers use that on a jungle camp right before dragon spawns, thinking that they had another charge of it available and did not. Oh, Sifl, I like this angle. Route 16 right available. Half the health bar immediately gone. Dragon picked up on the backside. What else can they get? They want to walk away. Inbred Loser trying to stand in front of multiple people to prevent his backline from getting hit. Meanwhile, flag and drag. The Monsoon stops it from being fully committed here. Taylor Swifty's just trying to do a little bit of damage over the wall with that empowered laser from the Aurelion Soul. No one dropping just yet. Oh, Sifl once again stopped from going in, but the tank for the side of TTQ is now down. Sunny Waffle picks up another one as the A-Soul is the next to fall. Chicken Thuggy kills the Ash, and it's just all health bars being deleted for TTQ. It's basically a full wipe. The Janna, the only one to live there. BBC, huge team fight around that third dragon. They're on the drag point. They're running down the mid lane. They're in a really good spot. And they've ballooned their gold lead yet again. Inbred Loser, massive in that team fight, buying so much space for the damage carries of BBC to work with, buying time for Sifl to get multiple engages in and out, making sure that Sunny Waffle felt free to do the damage as that Sivir. Great coordination, great shot calling. Well, Taylor Swifties, does he chase this? He doesn't know Sid Fish is here. Flag drag, gets the knockup, and oh, he just came out of the fountain. Oh, you hate to see it. He's going to have to go take a nap at the gray screen for a little while. Sifl doing a really good job to bait him, but there's no way to know. Thought that maybe he had a potentially free play there on the block, but in fact did not. And the Luden's Echo going to be completed now for Sifl. A little bit of a late completion there, but does have it. Or rather, no, sorry, that was just the stacks thing popping up. He already has the empowered boots, has the bit for the Hextech Proto Belt that we always talk about. I never remember what that is. It's the... I say that like I can't just look. It's the Hextech Alternator as... Ooh, that enchanted Crystal Arrow. Route 16 would like to get that one back. The good news is he'll have it back here shortly. It's actually not that long of a cooldown on the Ashe Ultimate, but the bad news is he doesn't have it right now. And with Baron spawning in about 5 seconds, BBC will have their choice of potentially places to play around the map. They have full control. They've still got all 3 outer towers out. They've got really good vision right now, fairly aggressive towards that top side. Not super deep, but it does give them the information that they need as far as potential ganking angles. Inbred, does he sense this? I think does Spider senses tingling, or whatever senses giant void creature has. Inbred, I think, has to know that this is going to be happening. Should have fully expected to get ganked, and now he's just going to try and see if he can walk out of here. Shouldn't be able to get too far, though. Sunny Waffle's here to see if he can provide a little bit. Sorry, they can provide a little bit of backup here. Route 16 is going to get slayed, but it will be a trade for the Cho'Gath on the top side. Save the Fishes here. Has quite a bit of damage. The Monsoon, though, not really getting a whole lot done to stop that full engage. The Shin ult are going to be channeled on top of Fully Doided. Manages to get it, but it's not going to make a difference. It's Ricky forced to flash over. Lucky to not get followed up on, but it's a 1-4-2 trade in the end. As the Ashe and the Mundo down. And right now, BBC, even though some of these trades are kind of nasty in terms of timing and just not being as super clean as maybe they'd like them to be with the gold lead they have, I mean, it's incremental advantages still. Training unevenly across the map. They get... TTQ gets 1 kill, they get 2 kills. TTQ gets 2 kills, they get a couple of turrets and some gold by denying camps and, getting set up for neutral objectives. And so right now, this is BBC's game to lose, but TTQ are hanging really, really tough. They're not out of this by any stretch of the imagination. It is a 5k gold lead, but as you start to get towards later in the game, that matters less and less, especially with Taylor Swifties being able to stack. And eventually, he'll reach the point where that ultimate basically just covers half the map. Your whole screen, you won't be able to get away from it. Yeah, but for now, BBC, they are fully in control. The Swifties isn't going to get stopped by the Flag and Drag, but does have to get further underneath the turret to avoid being fully engaged on. TTQ are potentially looking for a rotation to try and punish that. If that Enchanted Crystal Arrow lands, then that's probably the signal to go ahead, but just sails past the uprights. And now in about 30 seconds, TTQ are going to have a decision to make in terms of how they want to approach this team fight and how they want to get into this neutral objective area, run this dragon. Hextech Soul is something you would not like to have not to have to give over to BBC, especially given their composition that LeBlanc would love to have that soul. But you also have to recognize that you are still losing in this top side. It's Ricky just really not able to match Inbred Loser here on the Cho'Gath, and he's just going to continue to get pushed out the longer he's left here. And so for TTQ, you got to choose how you want to lose. It's Ricky can always use Stand United to get over to that fight. Inbred Loser will have teleport to match, though, even though it is technically just a little bit slower. And we'll have to play off of a ward. Both are slowly starting to transition over there, potentially maybe trying to stop each other's ultimate / teleport over this Sif. Ooh, finding Route 16. Drops him to half health. That momentary shield's going to wear off here in a second. Then it's going to be even more danger. Right now, BBC, they have control over this, but that's going to be the Ace ulti, only hitting onto 2. Save the Fishes. Trying to get on top of Route 16 on the Ashe, and now he will be on his lonesome, trying to run away from the fight. Is still alive so far, and it's going to be a double kill for the Cho'Gath. What else can they get? BBC, they want to run this down a little bit further if they can. Fully Anointed, trying to see if he can use the big chunk of his health bar to trade even for 1 kill, but not able to. Siful, a double kill on the LeBlanc. It was a double kill for Inbred Loser. This Dragon Soul is absolutely... There's BBC in control. Make a nature documentary the way that this is going, because this is the food chain being on full display right here. And it turns out giant void creatures. Turns out, the ones that kind of grow infinitely and get bigger and, gain damage and all that kind of stuff as the game goes on. Yeah, it turns out they're at the top of the food chain. Who would have thunk it? And now for BBC, fully expect them to close this out. You have basically every advantage you could ask for. You've got a gold lead, which doesn't necessarily mean anything all on its own except for what you do with it. But you've got Drag Soul. That's a Hextech Soul. That is one of the best souls to have. And if you cannot start to convincingly win team fights with that one, I had some questions for your team. But BBC, they know exactly what to do from this standpoint. They've been here plenty of times, even just between the Bonanza tournament and the regular season so far. So look to push these waves out and then rotate on over to the big purple worm. And try and get yourself a nice purple skin, some purple skin boots, maybe a cloak, whatever you want to call it. And get you some of that purple drink. Something else, I want to point this out, and everybody watching at home, I really want this to be like a point that everyone takes away. Look at how BBC are pushing these waves. They did not just mindlessly group mid and expect to just be able to force things down. Look how they're spreading their attention across the map. They've got all 3 waves pushing. They've got really good vision into all the entrances in terms of where they can be ganked, where they can be flanked. And they are making sure that TTQ do not feel safe anywhere across the map and that they have to respond to multiple different angles, have to respond to multiple different waves. And this is how you close out a game. This is how you utilize your advantage to the fullest extent. And Red Loser, he's going to continue to zone Taylor Swifties out. Ultimately come down on a Syphil, who managed to channel the jump forward. Is going to drop, though. That's quite a bit of damage now missing from the side of BBC. Now they need to walk out of this. There's still 5 alive. Save the Fishes manages to get on top of Taylor Swifties. Knocks him down. Save the Fishes, though. Picked up by the turret. Sonny Waffle now just trying to put the damage into the backs of multiple members here of TTQ. He's got Inbred Loser standing in front of him, making sure that he feels safe to do it. And the siege still going on here. Is Chicken Thuggy doing a great job of keeping everybody healthy. Nice and peachy. They should be able to walk this out. They've got what they needed. They're not going to be able to knock down that mid lane turret. Recognize that, and so just choose to back on out. You could argue that that was a little bit of an overforce from them. You could argue that maybe they stayed a little bit past their welcome, but they do walk away with more than what they lost, and they can look to reset and go out towards the Baron. Of course, I say that. They might just choose to group mid again to try and push it down. And I could just be stuck calling for a team to go to a Baron that they never do. That's really embarrassing if you're the caster in that moment. And you're like, oh yeah, like the team will definitely do this thing, this free objective that's on the map because, you know, they're in a really good spot, and then they just never do that thing. And you're like, well, I don't tell you. Right? They're supposed to make the play I call, and I don't know why they're not doing it. It's not a good time if you're a caster in that moment because you're like, oh, the audience is not going to believe anything I say. I've called for this Baron 5 times, and it's still alive. But ping's coming down, so surely this is the moment where both these teams start to potentially try and play around this objective. And again, BBC doing a really good job spreading the love across the map. Love to see it. For TTQ, you're going to have to find your moments. You're going to have to try and find a way to pick Syphil again and potentially get Sonny Waffle, because without those 2 members, there's a lot of damage that's missing. Sauce Quinn and Route 16 caught up in the Jarvan ult, and the redemption's going to come down to buy a little bit of time. But Chicken Thuggy with the encore over the top makes sure that that just doesn't matter. Fully Noided's going to be slain. Save the Fishes, setting up the Wombo combo into that mid lane. They're going to knock down this turret, and they might even potentially end the game off this. And the big purple worm that I call for them to take is just not going to get taken right now, turning me into a liar. BBC, what did I do to deserve this? You gotta do the things I call for, else no one wants to believe me. They're going to use the power of those grubbies. I don't know, maybe they still take it. Maybe they just stall because the respawn timers are still fairly short for TTQ. It is only 27 minutes into the game. And they don't have a way to play with right now. They're stuck between 2 turrets, so surely they go towards the big purple worm, please. It would be the definitive way to end this game. This isn't even a spot where you're worried about flipping this Baron because you're so far ahead, so you can't really lose the game off of a potential Baron steal. Oh my God, Slugs Clinton. Yeah, that doesn't feel so good. Oh, this might have been the angle, though. We talked about picking Syphil. This is what you needed. Gets killed by Route 16. That's a big deal because they have a little bit of space to work with now. They can potentially go towards the Baron. TTQ finding their ways to still stay scrappy. Picking off the mid laner for the BBC opens up some options. Not a lot of options, but it gives you more than you had before. And is the call to just run towards this? Remember, this is really hard to steal. As long as Save the Fishes is up and as long as Inbred Loser is up, they have double smite. And TTQ, you may not be able to win this game off this Baron, but you can sure as hell lose it. They need to be really careful right now. Redemption to try and keep some people healthy, but it's Ricky, though, trying to see what he can do to buy some space. The Aso ulti is going to buy a little bit more. Sunny Waffle living so far, fully noted, trying to knock him down, manages to do so, but so many kills have been given over, and now TTQ, oh no, it might have been the opportunity of 4, but now it most certainly is not. You want to talk about not winning off of it? Well, you could certainly lose off the Baron, fully noted, trying to flash away, but nowhere for him to run. A trade of smites, ate the fishes. All he's waiting for is the flag and the drag. The flash forward gets the knockup, fully noted, just trying to be a distraction and keep Inbred and Chicken off the way, but that's not going to matter. They've got super minions. They've got a plenty healthy wave. They can put the damage in these turrets. The respawn timer's still fairly long in comparison, and fully noted, there's nothing he could do except watch this turret go down, watch the base fall to shambles. Even Syphal's here to put the final touches on it. And BBC, a couple of shaky moments there getting some picks, but it was still their show for the majority of the game, and they pick up this first win of this series. Alrighty. Let's see what the draft adaptations are going to be. TTQ, I don't have a problem with their draft from the last game. I think it was fine. I think they got a lot of what they wanted. They got plenty of team fight and had some answers for what Big Bird Club wanted to do, particularly with the LeBlanc, but it just came down to execution, and there were some moments where they really weren't able to get what they wanted out of the team fights. Their squishies constantly getting picked, constant a threat. And shout out to Syphil for that. Did a lot to kind of make sure that that LeBlanc was getting the full usage, even despite being kind of heavily countered in some instances by the Janna. In terms of trying to get that engaged, so massive respect to him on being able to pilot that. But TTQ, they have plenty of answers that they can bring into the second game. A lot of things that they can draft, potentially mix it up a little bit, and look to even themselves out in the series. It'd be cool to get another best of 3 finally. As Big Bird Club, they want to grab themselves as a hen. Such a long neck. It's a long neck dude right there. Okay, but when are we getting Zenjao back? Give him back. Right, I don't know what you did with him. Bring him back. Ooh, TTQ grabbing the Vigar, potentially for that bot side. He could go mid, but traditionally we've seen him played a lot more in that APC role. Do they want to draft the Anivia alongside as well? This is a combination we've seen a couple times. There are some other enchanters that you could go with it, but may just choose to wait and see where the draft develops before they try and double invest into something like that towards the bot side. Ornn going to be the stable pickup there. TTQ, they played Ornn in their last series. It didn't have a bad performance. It wasn't really a whole lot to write home about because they didn't really get the chance to utilize it all that much in terms of building ornaments for late game. Even though their Lucian at the time was really out of control in terms of how much damage it was doing, just when it came to the mid to late game team fights, Baggy Pampers just absolutely outtraded them, so that Ornn never really had a chance to shine and get going the way they wanted it to. Talk about denying some CZ. Xayah Nami would be the great way to do that. Xayah going into her ultimate is going to absolutely be able to dodge most of Vigar's, not only his ultimate, but then also just the baby cage CC. And Nami as well for further follow-up. Just additional safety. Nami is one of the most useful enchanter supports that you can grab. I think just the tidal wave is a fantastic ability. And then also just, her passive healing and the auto bonuses that you get as an ADC just absolutely makes her super valuable. You get a lot of bang for your buck with this champion. The TTQ, they want to shake it up a little bit in that jungle rule. They're going to move from a bruiser and go towards something a little bit more damage-heavy trading. I haven't seen a Graves in a hot minute. Not only in our league, but then also just in professional play. This is a champion that has kind of died off over the last couple of years where we used to see it quite a bit. Just because in the shift of the meta towards, some of those more bruisery style melee champions. So interested to see what TTQ want to put alongside it to get a little more use out of it. The great thing about Graves is he doesn't necessarily need a lot of setup from other champions. Yeah, it's great to have additional CC, but you're not like turbo reliant on it just to get things done. You're not at the mercy. You're not at the mercy of everyone else to be an effective champion. The final ban's going to come out. Orianna going to be banned away from Syphil. Makes sense. Syphil had a crazy game on that in their last series at Big Bird Club. They want to steal away a little bit more of this safety here from the side of TTQ. Is gonna talk to my fellow caster. And we may or may not have a guest appearance in just a moment. I'll keep you guys up to date. What are the final bans going to be? TTQ, you want to try and deny something? They're going to deny the Mordekaiser. And they don't want Inbred Loser get his hands on that champion. Mordekaiser, I think it's just a really safe champion. Not only just because you can steal away a 1v2 and make it into a 1v1, but also It's a champion that's super obnoxious to deal with in team fights, just passively burning everybody to cinders. So it makes sense that TTQ would want to avoid giving him anything that he's super comfortable on. Big Bird Club, they're going to continue to deny some safety. They're going to take away the Rakan, that easy snap, one-button engage. Let's see what these teams want to round out with. TTQ, you still need a mid laner, and you still need a support. What do they want to go with? They need to be careful not to index too much into AP, or that would potentially get them in some trouble. Instead, I'm going to look at this Malzahar. I don't know about that. I don't know that that's a great selection, because you are picking this blind, and you are potentially at the mercy of a couple people. And speaking of being at the mercy, I am no longer at the mercy of a solo cast, as it is the one, the only Blackmage joining us for game number 2. Buddy, how you doing?
Doing great. Excited to be here. I really didn't think I'd be able to cast today, but you know what? The work gods had me in their favor, so here I am.
Fantastic. Well, I'm glad to have you here as we are getting into game number 2. Let me go ahead and I'll just turn this projector thing on for you in stream. It's always nice to be able to have some, even if it's last minute casting, have some help.
More than happy to.
Application with you as we are going to the last minutes of the draft. So Malzahar getting picked up blind. How do you feel about that?
Well, okay. I mean, I'm assuming it's mid lane. I can't see the draft right now,
it's
but
mid lane.
I'm assuming it's mid lane. One of the safer first picks, but there are so many good answers into it. Scion is one that pops into my head immediately. If you don't have it banned, that is just such an easy pickup for the side of Big Bird Club, but it doesn't look like they're going to grab that, so that does not matter anymore.
Nope. But speaking of seeing more of it, we are on to the rift for game number 2. BBC, they are 1-up in this series, looking to collect a potential 2-0 start to this season. TTQ, though, they've drafted themselves some options. They've got the Poppy, they've got the Vigar, so at least in the early stages of this game, a lot of threat in that bot side, Blackmage.
Yeah, interesting to see Root on a champion that, we don't normally see her piloting. I feel like, this is a person who's known for these carry late game champions like the Smolder. And so while Vigar can be that late game carry, it just doesn't have the same authority in the early to mid game that you would expect from an AD carry player like her. So definitely going to be very interesting to see how this combo works. That being said, it is a dynamic duo. The Poppy mixed with the Vigar is so scary. You drop the cage around him, Poppy slams him into the cage wall, and it's an immediate follow-up by some serious damage from the Vigar.
Yeah, it's that wombo combo threat that you've got there in that bot side that, I think that's the core part, like you were saying too. Like, you don't necessarily expect the Vigar to be super dangerous in this stage of the game. And kind of early training power, you fully expect that to be Chicken Thuggy and Sunny Waffle. Especially with Sunny Waffle, she's playing that Nami, just so much utility on that champion, just one of the best enchanters I think that you can play with any ADC. But eventually you will start to reach the point where Route 16 and Sox Clinton, they're going to be very dangerous as they get there. They're level 2 here. Nice trade, Sunny Waffle, though. Going to throw some autos into the back of Sox Clinton. But I think to your point, like, the APC, it's not, you don't necessarily give it the same respect that you would a normal ADC.
Yeah, definitely. Something I do want to mention is that Fully Noided is playing the Graves. Now, normally with a comp that has been selected by TTQ, I would usually be quite critical of this overall composition. It just seems very, very AP heavy. But when you have a Graves on your team and the enemy team is primarily building MR, nothing feels better.
Yeah.
When that Graves gets 3 items, he is going to be 1 to 2-shotting every single person on your team, and it is quite scary. So we'll just have to wait and see if that actually ends up coming to fruition.
Yeah, I was remarking earlier before I got the wonderful message that you were going to be joining me, and thank God, because it's okay solo casting, but it's always better to have just someone to bounce off with and help you out. And you bring that up as far as the Graves, like that was the thing I was bringing up earlier in draft was. We haven't seen Graves a lot, not only just, even with rec leagues and stuff like that, but I think even professional play, he's just heavily dropped off. And I don't think there was any really particular reason other than like Graves related, where it's like he wasn't nerfed or buffed too heavily. It's just I think that so many other picks in the jungle just became super prevalent. And so as you highlight, they're going to draft like this. Like you're really going to get your value out of him, especially into champions that aren't building a whole lot of tank anyways. Like Inbred Loser, not going to be building like the most efficient tanky items being the top lane Zac, not like being in the jungle. And so I'm curious to see like how, and especially in the late game, how much value TTQ is able to get out of that Graves.
Yeah, the only challenge that Graves will have in this game, even if the game goes completely even, is that by virtue of the champions that have been elected here by the side of BBC, it's going to be very hard for him to actually ever close those gaps and get on top of their champions. There might be something going down here. Inbred Loser does have his passive.
Yeah.
What I was going to be basically say is that it's going to be really hard for Graves to actually get on top of any of these champions. The only one that he really can do that with is going to be, Inbred and Save the Fishes, which BBC would be more than happy with. He's going to have a difficult time actually catching up and sticking onto Seafill because of his long range. And then, of course, Sunny Waffle having the ultimate is going to make that extra tough. So just got to wait and see how he can utilize vision, flank possibly, to really get the most out of his damage in his kit.
Yeah, and I think even to accentuate that point even further, like you're kind of, ooh, Route 16 forced to flash to avoid the bubble. Meanwhile, the fish is going to walk straight into the baby cage. Chicken Thuggies, not going to be too happy about that. But I think further to your point, like, yeah, you're doing a great job in highlighting that, like, the Ornn is kind of going to be your main setup there as far as CC. And not only in terms of even just trying to get on top of Sifil, but then imagine trying to get on top of the Xerath too. Or sorry, not the Xerath, but the Xayah with her ultimate ability as this Graves, knowing that, like, she can do the Feather Recall to stop you in her tracks. And then also going in the ultimate denies a lot of your kits. So, you could dodge out of the ultimate or any of the smoke grenade stuff. And then even, too, like, dodging from Root. Dodging out that ultimate as well is going to be big. So I think like the thing you're highlighting there too is just execution is going to be a potentially a little bit more difficult for fully Norded. And so it's all going to come down to those individual moments of where he can find power points with that champion.
If I'm Seafill, I really do think that a huge way you can stay alive in these games and avoid that Graves entirely is you got to build an early Banshee's Veil. I feel like the majority of the way that TTQ can actually lock down someone in general will rely on one person landing one key ability. Whether that's the Malzahar ultimate or the Viger Cage or Sox Clinton landing a stun or just an ultimate in general, or even it's Ricky with his ultimate. All of those are negated with the Banshee's Veil. So I would be very, very surprised if Seafill doesn't build this item third. But we're just got to wait and see, I guess, and hopefully he does, because that's going to negate a lot of the power that this TTQ roster has.
Yep. Speaking of negating some of the power, it's Ricky. Going to be wishing that he had a little bit of power to negate right now. He's going to call the Ornn Horn over, but this will be first blood. Inbred Loser making back up for the last time where he was not able to get first blood. And, because you guys had a chance to cast this last series between BBC and Psychosis, and I had a chance to go back and watch the VOD, and man, you want to talk about someone that has been absolutely effective for that squad. Inbred Loser on that first game of the Renekton had a really good... Chicken Thuggy. She might be on the wrong side of this one, but we'll walk out. But, I mean, kind of walk me through what it was like in that game, watching Inbred and Save the Fishes kind of combine in that top jungle duo in that series. And, I mean, like, Save the Fishes had two fantastic games on the Mundo and the Jarvan.
Yeah, I mean, it was giving me PTSD. It was making me think about finals and our first set against them in the last tournament. This is a jungle top duo that really knows what they're doing. They have been playing with each other for quite some time, and it requires a lot of finesse and a lot of, practice and actual note-taking of their games to really understand how they like to play each other and to play around that accordingly. And if you don't do your homework, if you don't spend some time really, understanding how they like to play, you're going to get cracked every single game. And so, BBC does this better than most teams. They're, probably favored to win the tournament overall, just being the fact that they're, returning as the same 5 squad that they started with, not to mention that they won the last tournament. So, yeah, just a scary duo to go against, and one that every single team should watch out for.
I want to pivot on something, and I want to get your opinion. So for the side of TTQ here, we've kind of highlighted in some of the areas which they can, kind of be successful here. But for the side of the BBC, I kind of walk, not only me, but then just the audience as well, like their target selection. Who is it that they're going to be locking down here for the side of TTQ? Because in my mind, like Malzahar is not going to be your greatest source of damage, at least until the mid to late game. It takes some time for that champion to come online. So what's the target priority here for BBC?
I would say that BBC doesn't necessarily want to get in any extended team fights. That's kind of where TTQ has the advantage. If I'm predicting things correctly, they're going to play through side lanes as long as they can. And so I think It's Ricky's going to end up getting beat up quite a bit just by virtue of Inbred Loser and Save the Fishes working together a lot. The same thing could be said about Taylor Swifties once he switches over to the bot lane. Once that first tower falls and Root and Sox Clinton go ahead and do the transfer. But yeah, I mean, if we're talking about a team fight situation, It's hard to say. I mean, Taylor Swifties is going to be pretty close to the action most of the time, but it's really hard to lock down any one of these members because they have so many defensive abilities, right? Sox Clinton has the ultimate, Root has the cage disengage, Taylor Swifties has, the silence, which can prevent a lot of aggressive engage from the side of BBC. So, yeah, it's hard to call.
Yeah, I think you highlighted it. I think just as well as I'm trying to scroll over the thought because the one thing I'm worried about from the side of TTQ though is that you're talking about like extended team fights, but the one thing that I worry about is the fact that like so much of their damage, at least from the AD standpoint, is locked up into fully noited. And so my concern is Sunny Waffles goes into the ultimate just to avoid being completely CC'd there. But my one worry is that fully noited is going to kind of make himself the main target here for the side of BBC, and then once they're able to knock him down, as long as you're building magic resist items, you're really not too worried about things if you're inbred loser, as long as you have some level of magic resist. And so I think for me, for TTQ, like if he does go down, if fully noited does go down without being able to get quite a bit done, at least knocking down 1 or 2 damage threats from the side of BBC, then I really think they're going to struggle as the game goes on.
Yeah, they do lack in damage, but I think that will be made up from as soon as they get like 2 or 3 items and we start to get to the mid and late game and you've got the ornaments coming through. I don't think the damage will be that much of a problem. Malzahar E and Q and W combos really do start to chunk you down if in the longer extended fights. And once Root gets enough AP, those Qs are going to definitely hurt. So it just really depends how long the game goes with TTQ able to stabilize it and just grab their items when they need them. That's really going to make the difference. Sox Clinton with a sick flash there. I think that's going to be a dead Seafill.
Vision of Empires. Oh, even though as I say that though, Chicken Thuggy doing a really good job. Even the ultimate committed from downtown for fully noited. Now, they used a lot to try and get the Zereth. In the end, they do manage to get him. Sunny Waffle not able to trade onto Root. She flashed out, and now the Zaya on the wrong side of this one. 2 kills for the side of TTQ. A much better early game for them than the last one. And
yeah, great positioning by Root there to get the cage down right in time to catch both Seafill and Sunny Waffles. They fall shortly thereafter and is able to flash over the wall on the top side of River to avoid the return kill from Sunny Waffle, who also falls. So just a great set of kills going over to the side of TTQ.
Yep, I was going to hit the replay button, and then I hit the record replay button again, so that replay is now lost for all time until I go back into my folder, so we will not do that. I will just continue on as my production moves. Even after I figured everything out, still plague me. I think that fight just showed us a lot of what you were talking about, too, in terms of the longer team fights, the longer it goes, the worse it is for BBC. Especially with Taylor Swifties just getting so many refreshes of his E and then getting the Voidlings out. And Vision of Empires there, like you talked about it. It was that one button. That was all it took, a flash and a pin into the wall to set up a massive team fight win for TTQ. And in the last game, they had gotten a little bit of an early lead in terms of some of the kills that the one kill that they got, plus some of the fighting in the bot lane, or sorry, in the top lane, but then it really just, like, BBC started turning on them pretty quickly. Even as I say that, though, Sunny Waffle wants to try and walk out of this one, goes into the ultimate, will try to pull the feathers back, gets a temporary root, but it's not enough, a little too late. Taylor Swifties making sure that Seafill gets seen the entire way. Oh, he might be caught now. If an East on up, Save the Fishes can lock this down. Flash away from Taylor Swifties, manages to get out and doing a lot of damage while doing it.
Yeah, man. I mean, this is just a great play overall by the side of TTQ, really taking advantage of the loss of summoners that they've got on that bot side. They're able to utilize Sox Clinton and Root, the combination there that we talked about earlier, to really pin down the bot lane and get a kill from it. And now we've got them moving on to the objective. Let's see if they can take it.
Oh, it's going to be the Malzahar walk away with that one and a kill going over to Root. She's going to be happy to have that one. TTQ continuing to pile on in that bot side. They got a gold lead. They want to start to run away from it. But remember, this is BBC. These are our reigning champions. Surely this isn't where they dropped their first game, Blackmage.
Yeah, they seem very, very confident, but at the same time, the score doesn't lie. 5-1 going to the side of TTQ is not something that we necessarily would have expected in this matchup, but it's one that we know that TTQ is capable of doing, right? I remember back towards the tournament, or during the tournament, when TTQ was on an absolute tear in the losers bracket, winning against teams that we never thought that they would win against, and really showing what this team can do when they put their heads together and, just put pen to paper. And right now, we've got hands to keyboard, and they're showing us why they have the skill to be able to take down BBC, and let's just see if they can keep it up. They've got the team comp to do it.
Yeah, in the Navy, we call that putting warheads on foreheads. And you know who's building the warheads? That Vigar on that bot side. Walking away with a lot of kills, too. 3-0 and 1. You know, that's where the majority of their kills have gone to. He has basically got, I think it's 80% kill rate right now, or 80% kill inbred. Ooh, that's not where you want to go, buddy. Should be able
That's
to walk
kind of cool,
this
actually.
Yeah. Should be able to walk this one out of there. Go ahead.
He like dived in between vision. That was actually pretty sweet.
That's like that play you make is like, I just want you to know that I could have, but I didn't because on account of I might die here. Ooh. That E.
Yeah, good stun there. It's probably not going to result in anything unless Save the Fishes gets a really good knockup. And
he says as it results immediately into a kill. That's a caster curse if ever I've seen one. Taylor, when you go back and watch this, just know that was Blackmage, not me. I didn't say it. He
Sorry.
did. It's your fault. How could you? How dare you, sir? He was going to live there until you said something.
I didn't anticipate the artillery strike from Seafill. I forgot that his ultimate was up and available, so pretty easy kill for the side of BBC, and seems like a bit of a misposition by Taylor Swifties, but can't be helped. Didn't really have the vision to know exactly where everyone was on the side of BBC. Save the Fishes did a nice little play, little jump over the wall, calling out correctly that they had the kill pressure there. Meanwhile, on the top side, nothing's going on.
Yeah, these two meatballs, they're just slapping each other around. It's funny how I've made this remark a couple of times with champions like, you know, Ornn and Shen and, you know, even other bruisers like Silence, stuff like that. So you don't expect them to do as much damage as they do until they like kind of do the full rotation a couple times. Like, hey, wait a minute, half my health bar is missing. Why is that?
Yeah, Inbred Loser is strangely, I don't know if the word strangely is correct, but like really piloting this champion well. He knows the limits. I don't know. A lot of these fights, it seems like it's going to lose the 1v1 and just ends but no,
he tried to flank. Oh,
he saved him.
That was an unfortunate blast cone interaction. Meanwhile, on the bot side, though, I say round towards the mid lane. Vision of Empires holds him in place, but maybe that's not where you want to be standing if you're Taylor Swifties. Emperor Loser going to jump on in. Will surely get this kill. Oh, BBC, this is where they're strong. Their team fighting is crazy. Save the Fishes. Oh, all he needs is just the E one more time. Jumps for to get it. Sorry, I say jump for, dashes for to get it. It's Ricky now might be on the chopping block. He's flashed out and has no other escape tools. Trying to go unstoppable. Oh, no. TTQ, you've been in the lead for so long now. This was such a good early game, but now it's just going back against them. They had a gold lead, and now they don't. It's 2,000 for the side of BBC. And, oh, Blackmage, this is all gone wrong.
Yeah, I mean, you know, TTQ kind of played into BBC's hand. They were really split up. The team fight really wasn't there. They didn't have the tools that they needed. They were split up, kind of uncoordinated, and that's the chaos that BBC's team comp is really going to thrive in. In the 2v2 or even the 3v3, BBC will win every single time. It really is purely the 5v5 where I feel like TTQ's comp will come ahead in these fights. And it's really only in open areas, right? Like in front of Dragon or if they're all in the mid lane. But if they're split up like this, BBC is always going to take advantage of the abilities that they have. And, you know, that's just a case in point what just happened there. Taylor Swifties gets caught out. The communication kind of breaks down. And
oh, Chicken Thuggy, say it ain't so. Oh, does flash out, gets a little bit of healing.
Yeah, so he's going to be able to get out. Fully Anointed is going to get the Raptors in return, so a little bit of consolation prize there. But as I was saying, BBC is always going to be looking for these little scrappy fights. That's where they can really pull ahead. And as long as they do that, they're going to be looking in good shape.
Well, and then something else I think you just highlighted too. I mean, you're absolutely right. It is in that 5v5 where you expect them to win because outside of that, you know, individually in, you know, the 2v2, the 3v3, they don't have all the pieces they need. And we're about to see that again as it's all the pieces not being here together is going to cost them yet again. Sock twinning, trying to run as fast as the legs of that Poppy will carry them, and it's just going to be the ultimate committee here. Uh-oh, Route 16. The ultimate traded for the flash. I'm not sure that you would ever want to flash there knowing that the Vigar has pressed R, but Ian, it doesn't really matter a whole lot. The suppression, wait a minute. We talked about the pieces not being there. TTQ has managed to stall out this dragon. Jungler's dead for both sides means neither will be moving towards it. That's a little bit of what you were talking about there, Black Mages. When they're strong, when they can get the majority of the members there, they have the ability to win those fights, but when it's in those smaller engagements, that's where BBC has the advantage.
Yeah, we saw there that eventually all 4 members of TTQ ended up showing, and that allowed them to make it an even trade, a 2-for-2. But at the end of the day, I think you would take that trade as TTQ, being that you are the later game scaling comp. take out the dragon, or take out the jungler rather, which prevents the dragon take for now. And you know, all of their members are collapsing down towards this dragon side. So now we might actually, for the first time ever, see the full power of this team comp working alongside one another. And they are also in a beneficial position to take this dragon. And if they do, they will be on third dragon, which puts them at soul point. So let's see what they can do here.
Yeah, it's going to be inbred loser, trying to buy a little bit of space right now, but he doesn't have a lot of follow-up, but he is going to stay healthy. Warhorn is called out now, but it's Ricky. Doesn't have a lot of health to work with. Meanwhile, it's going to be Save the Fishes going into the Herald. Does manage to get the knockup on multiple people. This was the team fight opportunity for TTQ, but now it's not going their way. Uh-oh! Save the Fishes. Gets the Vigar. That's a lot of their damage gone. Inbred loser just chasing a little bit forward to get some more persuasion to get him out of that jungle. Oh, Blackmage, that was their moment. That was the opportunity for them to win, and they just squandered it.
Yeah, but BBC with a bit of a masterminded plan there. I mean, a very excellent set of events happened in order for them to take control of that fight. First of all, they absolutely destroyed It's Ricky Ornn in the front line. Once It's Ricky got low enough and had to back off, all he has is his ultimate, and BBC knows that. So what do? Save the Fishes drops the Herald and uses it as like a Spartan shield to ram through the entire team comp and actually mitigate any kind of disengage that they have on their team, right? The Herald goes through the Vigar shield. It goes through Sox Clinton's stun. I mean, we're going to watch Seafield die here, but the point still stands. The Herald is used as a vehicle to transfer Save the Fishes from the backline all the way, or from the front line all the way into the backline of TTQ's team comp. And at that point, their front line is gone, and they have no ability to actually disengage. So just a masterful play by Save the Fishes there.
Yeah. It's BBC, I think, making the right calls at the right moments, making sure that they don't give TTQ any angles in. And now I want to see them start to do something with a little bit of the pressure that they're starting to gain across the map. They're slowly putting the damage into these towers. They haven't necessarily been able to pick up that top one yet, but they do have the middle and the bot down. It is really just that top side turret remaining for both teams.
I just feel like we really need to highlight, if we have a highlight page on YouTube, I think we do have some highlights, that like most certainly has to go. That was one of the most impressive uses of a Herald in a team fight I have ever seen, even in like collegiate and pro level. That was so masterfully executed and so smartly used, and now that I say that, he's going to die, which would be so funny.
Fishes is still alive for now. Meanwhile, though, Inbred Loser doing a lot to buy a lot of space. This was quite a bit invested for the side of BBC, or not, sorry, for rather TTQ, and not a whole lot that they're getting out of it right now. This turret is very, very healthy. They don't have that big of a weight to work with. Root forced to flash out immediately to avoid getting bubbled. Not sure that she was actually going to get hit by that, but thought maybe she was in danger and so decided to get out of there. And BBC, what do they want to do with this? They've got a little of space to press forward with. They could, in turn, try and take the topside tower, especially now that the recalls are coming through from the side of TTQ. So the structure may be going down. Uh-oh, it's Ricky. You have nowhere to go. That structure's now down. The crystalline growth ensures that it explodes into a million pieces, and they will now be looking to potentially face forward a little bit more. Taylor Swifties, he has time with this turret, but not sure what
he should be able to get it.
Yeah, they should be able to get it, but the question is, what are they going to do now? Because even with this turret going down, he's still on the wrong side of this play. BBC have control over this topside jungle. So
they have no vision, so he should be able to get out of there.
Yeah. Yeah, great highlight there. There's really nowhere that they can move to without being worried that the Malzahar might try and make a play. Although it does look like Inbred has eyes on him. There's no way that they're going to go for this Baron. So the question is, what do TTQ want to do to try and get a little bit more space back?
Inbred Loser is chasing him down, and he's got Save the Fishes in tow. He might TP out of here.
Yeah.
Oh, just barely gets out of there. That was crazy close.
Well, he would have had to stop the shield anyways, because the shield would have stopped that immediate knockup. So that recall was always going to
true.
I think.
Very true.
But just going to be annoying. Oh, Taylor Swifties did use the teleport to come back onto the map. Not sure that that was worth. There's no objective that's going to go down. It's a minute 40 plus for the next dragon. It's not like there's...
No, he used TP to get out of there.
Oh, they had it. Oh, he just
was not
okay.
backing.
He was okay. I'm sorry. I forgot that the recall thing. It's a lot faster now. That caught me super off guard. I was like, yeah, you're right. I just completely forgot for a moment that he had just used the teleport. Yeah, I forget that the home guard is that much faster now. I'm still not used to seeing that, even on a casting perspective.
Right. Yeah, no. Something to note is this little bit of a farm lead that's starting to assemble here for the side of Inbred Loser. He's amassing a nice lead here, 2.2k on this top side. And, you know, it's Ricky. It feels like he's been involved in some of these fights, but just doesn't really feel like he's been in any of the winning fights, right? And so we do see that 0-4-0, unfortunately. And with a bunch of scattered items, he hasn't even completed a single item yet.
No. And, most importantly for Inbred Loser, magic resist acquired, game free. Of course, you will need to still continue to stack that a little bit, and then obviously the trade-off is, you know, you're going to be a little bit more vulnerable to fully noited, you know, on that Graves. We talked about earlier that AD damage when you're kind of the main source for that in your team, it makes it easier to just shred through the front line. So actually interested to see when that Inbred Loser will try and pick up like another tank item as far as like armor, or just health scaling, or if he's going to fully commit. Not sure that was where there was never a moment where you were going to flash forward and get that, Taylor Swifties. Just flashed into the waiting arms of 3 people, and now the sins of the father are the sins of the whole team, as it's Ricky here trying to see if he can get something done, but this is just running in one by one. Oh, it's now simple. He's going to start to pull out the barrage from the Xerath, and the rest of TTQ are sent scattering. Blackmage, what the hell was that?
Yeah, it almost seems like a perfectly timed trap by BBC to, you know, bait TTQ into a false sense of security. They took the trap, hook, line, and sinker, ended up committing way too much for it. The TP came out way too late by It's Ricky, and they just get absolutely blasted by Save the Fishes and Seafill and Sunny Waffles using his ultimate very, very well there. And so, hey, if you don't set up the fights correctly, if you don't have the vision, if you don't know exactly where your enemy is or how they're setting up, it's best not to engage at all. Yeah. And they pay the price for that.
And as a shout out to Chicken Thuggy, not only keeping the entire team healthy there, but also making sure that the CC was in place to make sure that Malzahar couldn't get away. And now they may be potentially doing it again. Sox Clinton going to stop Inbred from getting any closer, but is not there to stop the ADC from dying, as it's another kill going over to Sunny Waffles. And TTQ, as soon as they respond right back onto the map, they just die again at BBC. They're running in one by one.
Yeah, it seems very, very forced and ill-advised for both of those plays. Maybe just a bit of desperation attempt there to try to get something back. Maybe catch a member of BBC out in your jungle while you have the chance. But their whole team is waiting in the around the corner and ends up just taking them out anyways. Not to mention It's Ricky takes some damage here. Yeah, I just don't think that was worth it. You know, both teams only have 2 dragons, so you're not in threat of getting dragon sold just yet. You do have the ability to at least give up 1 dragon and still be in a safe position. So just felt like some desperation, and really unnecessarily, because your team is scaling. You might as well just keep farming and win at the late game rather than trying to risk potentially going down even harder, pre 30 minutes.
Yeah. And something I want to point out, and something that I think we've both been kind of waiting for, is when fully noited is going to become more heavily involved in these fights. And either just through dent of them not having the correct setup, I think it's not necessarily fully noited's fault in terms of the game hasn't been in a position where he could really get a lot of damage done. But this Graves has been fairly quiet for the majority of the game. 1, 2, and 4 has the Collector, has the Yomu's Ghostblade, but we haven't seen any real meaningful damage come out from that yet in terms of anything that's like gonna wow you and like, oh, he's running away with a fight. Like, that hasn't happened at all. And for TTQ, I think that's definitely not the intention that they had with that champion, especially when they wanted to make it the primary AD threat. And so, for me, if TTQ want to have a chance in trying to get back in this game and they want to get something done, I really need to see fully noited getting more backline access, working with the team to isolate some of these squishier members, lock down Sunny Waffle, lock down Siffle, or maybe even Save the Fishes might be a decent place to start, considering how dangerous he's been on the Zahin. And I need to see more from him.
Yeah, it's looking like a very, very tough game for the Graves. What's starting to happen is that he's not able to close the distance and the gap that these champions on BBC are creating in these team fights, and he ends up just getting blown up because he's just kind of playing as like this frontline bruiser, but doesn't have any of the frontline bruiser items, right? I mean, yeah, Grit is great. Grit gives you some defensive stats, but you have to pair it with items like Black Cleaver and others. But hold on, we do have a kill onto the Chicken Thuggy. That's going to look pretty good.
I'm not sure that was worth to try and focus the Nami, but they will at least stop some of the passive healing that's been going on. Sox Clinton going to eject the Zac from that fight, but they are going to get chunked fairly heavily. So a decent pick onto the support there, but I'm not sure that investment was worth
They got the jungler and the support.
Yeah, but I still think, like, yeah, it's worth because you get the 1v2, but or the 2 for nothing, but I still think it's not necessarily worth in terms of, like, you're spending that to block down the long target. You should be trying to force out the ultimate from Sunny Waffle. And now the trade of that is they still have 3 strong. The main core for them, minus the jungler, is available for BBC. And they can still do quite a bit of damage. It's going to be Inbred Loser going into the passive. Sunny Waffle still on the backside, doing so much damage, chewing through the health bars here of TTQ. All that investment for the support means that they're missing tools, and now they're getting punished for it. Taylor Swifties wasn't even able to get away from that. Sunny Waffle with the gutsy flash to follow forward to make sure that multiple members of TTQ are dead. And yeah, this is their game.
Yeah, it's Ricky was definitely out of position there. Did not need to be in that position, considering that the members of BBC were still in that area. Ends up getting caught and dies for it. And once he falls, it is really hard to lock down any one member and actually create space for the side of TTQ. That being said, they do get Inbred Loser to pop his passive eventually, who's creating so much space on this Zac during the course of that fight. But what ends up happening is that they don't have enough damage to actually kill him once he's in his passive. Fully Noided looked like he was frantically trying to use his Q in a way that would impact multiple clones, and it just ends up not being enough. Fully Noided Inbred Loser gets back up, almost instantly goes back up to a quarter health, and just does so much damage to Fully Noided that he has to back off and does eventually die for it. And yeah, just a really sad set of events, and I feel like, it's just really just positioning errors all the way around, and here we have another one.
Yeah, it's Ricky just trying to do what he can to create a little bit of space for his team to work with, but it just doesn't matter right now. Taylor Swifty's trying to save the fishes off over the wall of that blue pit, but that doesn't amount to anything. And now it's just 3 dead for the side of TTQ. And it's almost sounding like a little bit of a sad song, as Taylor Swifty's going to be the last one alive, sure to follow the teammates, and they can even just start to run this down, start to collect some of these turrets. The dragon is absolutely theirs for the taking. It's going to be a teleport towards that top side for Sifl. He's going to put the damage into that turret, and something that I highlighted in the last game that we're already starting to see, and something that I think is the hallmark of a great team, is how they spread their Baron advantage. They've got 5 with purple. It's multiple dead inside of TTQ still, and right now this is BBC's game to lose.
Yeah, I just think there's too many mistakes being made by TTQ, both just then, but also throughout the mid game in terms of their positioning and how they're trying to take objectives. Well, really just a vision around objectives. If you are walking into that bush blind, you know that the dragon's up and you know that the enemy team's doing it. I don't think going through the jungle is actually the way to do that. You really need to push out the waves and then attack through river. That's a little bit of a safer way to do it. Not to mention you can use a lot of the abilities that your team has, such as the Viger Cage from Root, before you actually check those key spots, and yeah, they just end up getting nukes because of it, and that's really going to turn into more kills that we just see falling right now. And now we've got a 29-11 kill lead that's nearly amassing to 15k.
Yeah, this game is all but over. Is BBC, they're writing the final few words in the eulogy here for TTQ's run in this series. It was looking like potentially they might have been able to fight back and get a game and push us to a potential 3rd match, but BBC, they don't want to let that happen. They secure a 2-0 over TTQ and full possession of first place in the standings.